Two bitter ex-Prime Ministers now want to punish the Murdoch media business, News Corp, which includes Sky News. Labor's Kevin Rudd and the Liberals' Malcolm Turnbull both courted the support of Murdoch newspapers when they wanted to become Prime Ministers, and they were given it, unwisely, as I said at the time, by too many of those papers. Both turned out to be as bad at the job as I predicted, and they were booted out. But they prefer now to blame the Murdoch media, not themselves, for their fall. Rudd is now pushing for a petition, for a royal commission into News Corp, and 500,000 people have signed, including Turnbull, and two of them appeared on the ABC on Sunday to promote it with the ABC's active help.
Murdoch's treatment of Malcolm Turnbull in 2018, directly interfering into the internal politics of the Liberal Party to do what he could through his editors to bring about a leadership change to Morrison and or Dutton at the time, is a disgrace.
The Murdoch press that used to be, a journalistic operation, a news operation that tended to lean more to the right than the left, has now become a vehicle of political propaganda.
That's on the ABC, which last night put that anti-Liberal trash to air. Anyway, hypocrisy. Now, this idea that the Murdoch empire is so evil seems to obsess these men so much that on Insiders on Sunday and Q&A last night, Turnbull was actually telling former and current Murdoch journalists how much they hated working for News Corp. Without seeming to register, both men were saying to them, no, the reality is not what you say. He seemed, dare I say, a bit unhinged, first with David Spears, then with Paul Kelly.
David, you should have the opportunity to tell the truth about what it was like working in Sky News, because you were there in the belly of the beast, you couldn't bear it any longer, and you left.
Well,
and so many other honest journalists, and they should be entitled to have their say.
I will always tell the truth, Malcolm Turnbull, and that's not quite as dark and dire as you characterise there.
I'm sure you do,
I'm very happy to be here at the ABC.
Be economical with the truth.
OK. Well, I am very happy to be here at the public broadcaster. Look,
how offensive, how biased, how destructive does it have to be, Paul, before you will say, one of our greatest writers and journalists, it's enough, I'm out of it? I mean, how long will you keep apologising?
How dare you... Malcolm, how dare you start telling me what I should do in terms of my career?
I'm asking you to speak up.
And lecture me about what moral position I should take.
How dare I do it? I dare to do it. And I'm saying to you, Paul, it is about time that people that work for the Murdoch organisation speak up and say publicly what they...
Well, let me say publicly what I say privately about the Murdoch organisation. And anyone who's heard me say different, I say you're free to tell others what I've said privately. We, in fact, have more balance than you will ever find on the taxpayer-funded ABC, or The Guardian, or the 9 newspapers, or so many other outlets. The Murdochs hire many journalists and commentators and columnists of the left. You've got your Philip Adams, you've got your Troy Bramson, you've got your Susie O'Brien, you've got your David Pemberthy. Here on Sky, you've got Graham Richardson, you've got Steve Conroy. We, News Corp, even hired a man, can you believe it, who wants to push for an advertiser boycott of Sky News. Boy, we're broad-minded. But you name for me a single Conservative host on the ABC's main current affairs shows. The ABC by law is supposed to be balanced. You name a single Conservative commentator on the staff of The Guardian Australia, even one, or the Age newspaper, or the Sydney Morning Herald, or SBS, or Junkie, or Crikey, or just about anywhere now. The fact is that the Murdoch sin, the sin of their News Corp, is to hire some Conservatives, not just people of the left, some Conservatives. That's the real sin. That almost alone now, we have in News Corp people who will, for instance, question the global warming scare, who defended Conservatives like Cardinal George Pell, jailed on false charges, pushed unanimously by the ABC. That's what I say in private, and it's what I say in public. So I say to Kevin Rudd and to Malcolm Turnbull, you are hypocrites. You crawled to us for support. Kevin Rudd, I know you try to recruit me to savage Julia Gillard in your wicked political games. You hypocrite. And hypocrite twice over. Because what is it that you now say? You say that the value at stake here, the one you're supposedly fighting for, is this. In a democracy, should contesting and contestable ideas have a platform which enables those ideas to be ventilated? Of course they do. But you don't want those ideas contested at all, not from a conservative perspective. You want to deny this platform. You don't want us contesting you on global warming or on the topic of your magnificence, your wonderful leadership. I see through you guys. I see that totalitarian itch of yours and that monstrous, wounded vanity. Joining me is Gerard Henderson, head of the Sydney Institute, columnist with the Australian newspaper and author of the Media Watchdog blog. Gerard, Kevin Rudd, Malcolm Turnbull, what is their game?
Well, I think it's vindication. There are 4 leaders who've lost the support of their party room in recent years. Kevin Rudd, Julia Gillard, Tony Abbott and Malcolm Turnbull. Now, Tony Abbott and Julia Gillard have got used to it, they've accepted it, and they're not blaming others. But Kevin Rudd and Malcolm Turnbull haven't accepted it, and they want to blame others, and they blame News Corp. I saw on Insiders, it wasn't challenged by the presenter, that Kevin Rudd said that Murdoch and News Corp was a media monopoly. I mean, Murdoch doesn't have a free-to-air television station, doesn't have a radio station, has newspapers and has one free-to-air, one pay TV station. So what you've got is a form of neurosis, and both Mr Rudd and Mr Turnbull are blaming Rupert Murdoch and News Corp and newspapers for the fact that they lost the support of their own colleagues in the party room, which happens to many politicians and many political leaders over the decades, but they haven't been able to get used to it, or they want to blame someone. And last night, Malcolm Turnbull's finger pointing at Paul Kelly was very aggressive, but it said more about Mr Turnbull than it does about Mr Kelly, because if you talk to any Liberal MPs in the party room, you know why Malcolm Turnbull on 2 occasions lost the support of his colleagues. That's just a fact, and it's the same with Kevin Rudd. That's just a fact.
Yeah, well, I think it's funny that Turnbull was saying, you know, the media empire is so wicked that Paul Kelly, who he admires as a journalist, should leave it. I mean, the mere fact that Paul Kelly is in one of the Murdoch employees should suggest that what his game really is to get rid of Conservatives on there. Now, the ABC is sure pushing this anti-Murdoch, anti-Conservative agenda too. You've got 2 flagship shows in 2 days, Insiders and Q&A. Plus, you had Media Watch last night, all promoting it. You look at the Twitter feeds of many ABC journalists; they're promoting this anti-News Corp petition. Why is that?
Well, I think the truth is that Sky News, for example, has taken away a lot of ABC traditional viewers. I know, because I know many people. I mean, very serious Australians, very influential Australians who tell me that they used to watch the ABC every night and now they don't. I don't myself. I watch the Bolt Report at 7:30 and at 7 o'clock I watch the Bolt Report, and then I will get a transcript or I will go back and check a recording. So it's ripe. So what you've got here is a commercial rival that a lot of very influential Australians and others have left the ABC because they're regarded as a conservative free zone, is dominated by the left. They feel their views aren't represented, and they've gone to Sky. Now, Sky may not have huge numbers, but it's got influential numbers, and the ABC has lost those people. And what they're trying to do, therefore, or ABC journalists are trying to do, is shut down Sky. So then they'll have to get them back by compulsion because there won't be anything else to watch if you're looking at news and current affairs through a night.
This is so correct.
It's a kind of commercial rivalry, except you've got one commercial organisation that's got to exist in the market and another publicly taxpayer-funded organisation that lives off the taxpayer but gives the taxpayer no right of having their views heard if they're not on the left, if they're not part of the Green Left as a conservative free zone. Their views are not heard. I think that's primarily what it's all about. It's a form of censorship. It's another form of deplatforming. And that's why it's not just conservatives now excluded from the ABC, but people like Social Democrats, people like Michael Danby in Melbourne, virtually never get a run on the ABC. They're Labor, but they're anti-communist Labor, they're right-wing Labor, and the ABC presenters and executive producers and others don't want to hear them.
Yeah, I know, and I like the way that Turnbull was saying, oh, The Guardian, unlike News Corp, doesn't pursue vendettas and vindictively pursue enemies. When you check what The Guardian writes every month about me, or you check what The Guardian's uniformly hostile and sneering coverage of Tony Abbott, I mean, these are just stories from last month, all negative. Check The Guardian's vicious coverage of another Conservative, Peter Dutton, 100% hostile. Its coverage of George Pell, 100% hostile. I mean, really, and the ABC, you know, how it vilified George Pell for years. I mean, talk about vendettas. Moats and beams, guys. Moats and beams. Yeah. That's a biblical reference for the ABC. They won't get it. Gerard Henderson, thank you so much indeed for your time.
Thank you.